welcome back to The Way with Jazz and Tae. Before the break, we gave our weekly recap as well as tested out a new icebreaker. It's the How Well Do You Know Your Co-Host game in honor to celebrate our 100th episode. Right. Something new every single time. But now that we are back into it, we're going to go ahead and go over some of our favorite episodes and guests. You know, we've had quite a few people on. We've also been on a few different shows. And Shantae, I'm going to have you take it away. Because I love the ones that you're starting us off with.
Yeah, so to start us off, I was going to do my favorite episodes. And I really wanted to highlight the episodes that we did this past Women's History Month. I think that we've done a really great job the past couple of years of really focusing on, months where there's like an awareness month going on. And so this March, we actually decided to have a different female entrepreneur or musician on each week so that they could talk to us about their projects and their different endeavors, but to also just talk to them about different topics surrounding, female empowerment and different issues. Like with Twaya, we talked about the hot topic was Zaya Wade and her coming out as trans and her book, the book signing or the book discussion that she had with Michelle Obama. And what I really loved about each of those conversations was just like, I knew that we were going to have a great time because these are all great women, but what I didn't expect was some of the things that we learned and the vulnerability. To that point, I would even say Kendra's, which is episode 84, Women Inspiring All Women. Kendra is a makeup artist, and she actually talked to us about kind of her journey to clean beauty and really talked to us about kind of endometriosis and all that kind of stuff, which I really appreciated. I think that a lot of the times we have people come on and, the conversation is always great, but to be open and to be vulnerable and to share something that personal about yourself with us, I really appreciated that, but also appreciated the vulnerability and an opportunity to learn. How like this kind of stuff could be affecting us, and also to show our listeners, we always want to be helping you guys as well and have you guys thinking about some of these topics. And I just think that those 3 episodes were really like near and dear to our heart and like our mission as a podcast. If you guys want to check those episodes out, they are concurrent. That's episodes 82, 83, and 84. All great episodes. Featured Twaya, Scarlett Park, and Kendra Springer again. Or Spring, sorry. Is it Springer or is it Springer?
Springer.
Okay.
Kendra Springer.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I thought it was Springer, but my notes say Spring, and I don't think that's right. Sorry, Kendra. It is Kendra Springer. Check her out. She is dope. Yeah, those have been my favorite episodes of, our 100 episodes.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I also like the episode with Kendra Springer and Scarlett were ones that came to mind for me as well, because I just love kind of like everything that they do and what they talk about, and kind of just like, Scarlett, she works so hard, at everything that she does, and she's very woman forward, and I love that she's consistent in that, and I love seeing that. And Kendra really opened up to us in a way that I didn't like necessarily expect, and
right.
That was such a great conversation to have. It was educational, and that is kind of like what I feel like we do this for, or like, why we have podcasts for, is like so people can share these kinds of things with us that I didn't know half the stuff that she was talking about. And it's like, hey, this is something that could be very real to us in our bodies and things like that, So that was one that definitely stuck out to me as well. I love that we shared that. I had a couple I don't want to say like, like random ones, but ones that I just think about that were fun, that we had really great energy in. And I loved our episode with the Pit Cast.
Oh, yes.
Yes. The Pit Cast, we had an episode with them in November of last year. And I don't remember, I noticed we did things a little differently. I was going based off of like dates, and you wrote like the actual episode number. So I'll have to find out what that actual episode number was with them. But what I love about the Pick Cast was that I feel like they were literally like the male versions of us, but maybe in like 15 years or so. Yeah. You know, they also love music like we do. They also are really like into pop culture and all that kind of stuff, but they're also they're very open like we are, and like, oh, this is something that's new, and like we were able to share with them a whole bunch of like our tastes and stuff, and they were receptive to that, and vice versa, you know. Yeah. We played that really fun Name That Tune with them, right? Yeah. And that was, I think that was probably one of the first ones that we did. And that was probably one of the most fun ones that we did, because they had such a good time, like listening and trying to figure it out. And we had really good chemistry with them. And when you have guests and on your show, you never really know how that's going to go. You know, a lot of the times these people are strangers. You know, you might have only really spoken to them via email, and you've maybe only heard them talk because of their podcast. Right. But when you actually, you know, link up with these individuals and you have a really great episode and a connection with them, it really just gets things flowing. And it keeps those people who are listening, you know, are wanting, they feel like they're there with us. And I remember very specifically you and I, Tae, when we got off of that call with them, we were both like, that was a good interview, or they were so fun, or, oh, I really love that. We didn't want it to end. That was a hard one for us because it was only an hour-long episode, but we probably could have.
We were cut short.
We really probably could have kept going. Mm-hmm. You know, we had such a great time with them, and I also think that's a sign of a really good episode, is when the conversation is flowing and you guys have so much to talk about that you can't fit it in, and you're like, a lot of time, that's how you know it was a good time. So I know with them, they are someone that we definitely want to revisit.
Absolutely.
We know we definitely want to get them back on so that we can finish that conversation, and maybe even just kind of revisit some of the stuff that we talked about the last time. I would like to see how maybe we've influenced their music since then, you know? Yeah. So that's one of my favorite episodes. A couple others that came to mind was Justin Herman, which he was kind of like a special edition one, you know, because Shantae and I, again, kind of in line with our mission of being educational and informative. This was right around the time that we were doing all of our big like push for you know, voting and the election and all that stuff. And we were in the middle of the pandemic, and he brought a really good comedic relief to everything. You know, he did a roast of the 50 states, which was kind of why we reached out to him and got him on the show. And he was somebody who, again, a stranger that we just really clicked with. He's hilarious, just naturally funny, but was very, again, informative at the same time, you know. And he mentioned that, you know, he's like, we're all in a, I don't want to say bad words, but we're all in a crappy time, we're in a crappy place, and where I can bring funny, you know, where I can bring a comedic relief is where I'm gonna like shine. That's what I'm gonna do. Absolutely. And he's somebody who I could see us having another conversation with, because we had a deep conversation with him. We were able to dive into some of the talks of, like, you know, the politics, and he lives in New York. And I think he says he's also Jewish. So, you know, there's different things that go into play there that he also sees that he can relate to, that we as Black women can relate to. And And who would have thought that, like, no, I didn't think that going into that conversation with him, we probably would have connected with him the way that we did. You know, I thought it was just going to be a kind of like funny, haha, this is a light episode, which it was, but it also kind of got the job done and was informative, which I like that we do a good mixture of the heavy with the light.
I think that he's actually on my favorite guest list, but I think it's interesting that you chose him for that reason, because I found it to be he was one of my favorites. Yes, because he was funny, and we did just click with him. But for me, like, what I took away from his episode, and it's episode 66 titled Election Day Predictions. He's really knowledgeable about like television and media. Like, he's worked as a director for a lot of like different shows, and when we brought him on, like, it was pitched as he's a comedian, but to learn all the stuff that he's done and had his hands in, and you know, just the tips that he was giving us, I was like, wow, like, this is crazy. And who would have thought that we'd ever connect with this guy at this level? And I just felt like everything that he said really resonated with like where I see myself, or like things that I would love to try out. And it was just really cool to talk to somebody that's done those things.
Yeah.
I did want to go back really quick, because I just realized with the women's history, they seem more like favorite guests, but I really liked the episodes and topic conversation, or the conversation we had. But yeah, I had a few that I wanted to also point out as favorites. So we did a lot also in 2020 around the protests and the election, and I really enjoyed those personally, just because I learned a lot. With our podcast, we're forced to do a lot of research, and I feel like I learned a lot about government, politics, the way, you know, Black people have been treated for years and years and years, and like why that is, and just different things that normally I probably wouldn't look into just for the heck of it. And to come to the show and have all this information and be able to really like put it out in an engaging way, where we had people who said like during the protests or during this time, our podcast really, or it was during Black History Month, but during that time, our podcast really helped them to learn more. So I think that it was like cool that we get to, you know, learn more ourselves.
And we take that opportunity. We challenge ourselves too, you know, like especially when we did like the Women's History Month, with our icebreakers, we start off at the beginning playing like heads up.
Right.
Let's see how well we do the first week of Women's History Month, and let's see the growth towards the end. Let's see what we've been able to educate ourselves on, see how much better we're able to perform or whatever.
Or like the very first Black History Month that we did, where we had my mom give us people to research. And then we like came back and like gave like a bio of who they were, or was that what we did? Well, we did do that. We did like people to look up or to know, and like we didn't know who half the people were.
And that with it, and from there, I think we decided to do a little bit more research on, because we were just shamed. We were ashamed.
Yes.
But yeah, I definitely want to piggyback on that and say that I agree. I love that we have this, and that it forces us to continuously educate ourselves and stay up to date and in tune. You know, we're not living under a rock here, you know, and that we strive to learn more. You know, we want to learn more.
And so if you guys want to check out a few of those episodes that cover the protests, we've got episode 62, which is Are We Getting Punked?, which is actually about the election debates. It was the debate where everybody was just acting a plum fool
and talking over each other.
Yes. And then
that was entertaining.
Right. Episode 67, What Election, was when we'd waited about like a week or so for our election results. And then episodes 46, The Fight Continues, and episode 48, Justice for Breonna Taylor, we're very heavily covering the protests and everything going on with George Floyd and police brutality. So if you want to check those out, again, just to kind of revisit them, I definitely say take a second listen.
And same here. check out our episode with the pick cast. That was in November of last year. Sorry again, I didn't check what episode number it is, but I'll get that info to you guys. Don't worry.
I was gonna say,
and then
I think
same
it might
with
be 68 or 69, to be honest, but that's a guess.
Oh, perfect. And then episode 66 with Justin Herman, the election day predictions. That's another good one. But honestly, you guys, any of our episodes in the last year and a half are gonna be worth listening to. Let's be honest.
So who have been some of your favorite guests outside of the pick?
Right, I was gonna say outside of those two, I really loved having on Jasmine and Simone from Ujima's Village.
Oh.
I think we had really good energy and chemistry with them as well. We left that call feeling like family. And then same with the FOH podcast. Blake and Say So. He wants to go by Say So, my bad if you're listening. Say So and DJ Truth. Yes. I love them. We have like it's almost like I don't want to say corny like family like the last one, but we really do just kind of like talk crap to each other. Like we have that banter of where it really is just like a brotherly, sisterly kind of combo and stuff. Just like, right. Oh, whatever, get out of here. Like, and again, these people we met, they lived in Atlanta when we lived out here in Seattle. And like, we have this kind of like connection relationship with them. So we've guests on their show and we're going to actually have them back. That's how much we love the FOH podcast. So
absolutely. I would love to do kind of like, it would be a little hard because we'd have a lot of people, but to have like FOH, us, and then like one other of our favorite guests, and then have a conversation about something that's like, depending on everybody's perspective, that we could just really have like a round table talk about it. I would say same, my favorite, the people that I listed top of the list, FOH, they're just a lot of fun. And just like you said, it's the banter back and forth, even like, not even through the feature that we did or the podcast that they did on our show, titled The Way versus FOH. We talked to them about the versus battle between Soulja Boy and Bow Wow, but like we went into that episode and we were like, do we really want to talk about the versus? And like we went in on this topic and it was so much fun. And then like after the fact, when the versus was happening, we're all like tagging and adding each other like, y'all see this, right? Like, so it was just like fun conversation to have. And just again, like what we're really trying to do, foster conversation with people who we wouldn't normally even be in connection with. And I love that every time we walk away as like family with some of these people.
Yeah.
I would say on my list of guests is also the Pitcast and also Justin Herman. So those are like my favorite. I don't know how or why they're not on this list, but Jasmine and Simone, oh my gosh, it was so much fun, that episode.
Yeah,
that was another one where we almost ran out of time, I think.
Yeah. I will say too, of course, we've had a lot of friends on our show as well. So not at all to say that those aren't some of our favorite episodes, of course. Right. We wouldn't have you guys on if we didn't love and know y'all.
Yes.
But these are guests that we've met through just podcasting. These are connections through just doing what we do, and we've managed to have developed these really, I feel like long-term, these are going to be some long-term relationships that we form with these people. So
absolutely.
It's been worth it to network. We've got a nice little community here.
Absolutely. Well, before we get into our lessons learned and what we see for the next 100 episodes, we are going to jump into a really quick 2 to 3 minute break. Stay tuned. You're listening to The Way with Jazz and Tae.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to The Way with Jazz and Tae. It is our 100th episode. Before the break, you guys, we gave a quick rundown of each of our favorite, some of our favorite episodes, as well as some of our favorite guests over the last 100 episodes. And like, excuse me, like always, Shantae and I had some of the same ones, but also for different reasons. we found that why we like them for different reasons, which is always fun. As well as, of course, having different picks all together. Now we're going to go ahead and get into some of our lessons learned, as well as what do we want to see for our next 100 episodes? What do we see for us? And I know I want to kick us off. Lesson learned is, I see what you're going to put here, so I don't want to like toe on that, but I definitely feel like, have a plan B in the event of like guests. This is a specific kind of like scenario, but things happen. Life happens. Sorry, my contact is acting up right now and I cannot like see, but life happens, things come up. People might not be able to make it when they say they can, or, but for us, we record live. The show must go on. And so in the event of we having a guest, we always kind of have like a backup plan in mind, or a backup way that we might want to take things in case something like that happens. And I highly encourage everyone to do that. Even if you are, say, you're pre-recording, still something might come up. Just, you might only have that time that day to record, and you still want to get an episode out, even if your guest isn't there. Have a backup plan. Have a plan B. You can never be too prepared. And the other thing is that, say your guest does show up, the worst case scenario is you have an episode for next week, or you have something to talk about.
Or about this episode,
and that's something that we found ourselves just a couple times, like maybe communication wasn't there, and we were really nervous that maybe someone was going to show up or wasn't going to show up, and it's like, well, what do? We don't want to show up the day of and they're not there, and we have no idea what we're doing. So it's just about planning and prepping. So I always say, make sure that you do have a backup plan in the event of the worst case scenario.
Absolutely.
That's going to be one of my lessons. Tae,
I have two lessons that kind of go with each other, but first one is pre-recording episodes. I just think that, it really helps because we have a live show. Having a pre-recorded episode means that we're already done by like whenever we recorded it. Usually we choose to do Sundays. That's the top of the week. And then our show is live on a Thursday. And it just makes the rest of the week super nice and super like easy. And it's like, wow, like why don't we do this more often every time? So I just think that like lessons learned, pre-recording is awesome. And I know a lot of people have come on and said like, do you guys batch? And we're like, oh yeah, no, not really. But we've thought about it. And, just even doing the pre-recorded every once in a while with some of our guests, we always get to Thursday and we're like, wow, this was such an easy week. And I think that that's nice to not be overwhelmed with like your daily life and the podcast. Pre-recording is awesome. And then to that point, meeting and planning out like ahead of time, like well ahead of time. I know with our show, we talk about hot trending topics, like what's going on right now. So sometimes like it does feel like our news is late, but I feel like having it done on Sunday, we have time to get it to Benny and like just everything's done. Again, it's just like with the pre-recording. It's like the sooner that we have the show outlined and everything, the quicker we can just chill and then show up. So I would say meeting and planning well in advance, and then also pre-recording are like my biggest lessons learned.
Yes, absolutely. Meeting and planning, that changed the game for us tremendously. Yeah. Now moving on, what do we see for our next 100 episodes?
Yes.
I see us, I see us growing. We already have, we have the consistency, and we're doing really great at having guests on and featuring on other shows to where we're getting more comfortable enough to maybe start having higher caliber of guests on our show. And I see that giving us a really big push from episode 100 to 200 in our growth, and even just exposure. And I see that happening with thank God we've got Monica, our video editor. That has helped us tremendously just make our brand look a little bit more polished and put together. And that's going to help us just grow. I know we've got some things in the work. Now we've got a pretty cool guest coming up, but I think that's just the beginning for us. And from there, I see us potentially doing, you know, live shows in different cities, you know.
I would love to do that.
And by 200 episodes, I see us with a sponsor. I do, at least one. I do. I see us with a sponsor by 200 episodes, and I see us over here like Horrible Decisions and The Read, just out here doing the dang thing.
That would be dope. That is the goal, man.
Yeah.
It's interesting, your route. Okay, so I went a little bit different. So for me, for the next 100 episodes, I would really love for us to kind of switch things up and find better ways to engage with our audience and listeners, as in put great content out there for you guys. That's what I see in the next 100 episodes for sure.
I agree. I see a lot of I just see a lot of continued growth and great things coming for us. So I think definitely getting more engagement from our listeners is going to be the way to help get that going. So.
Hashtag the way. But you guys, that is our 100th episode.
As always, thank you so much for tuning into The Way. Catch you next week, same time, same place. Follow us on Instagram at The Way Jazz and Tae and on Twitter at The Way JT. Don't be afraid to DM us if you have any questions or suggestions about the show. Until next time, bye. Peace.